This is News 12 Law Call.
Hi there. Most of the calls attorneys get across the CSRA happens when you may get hurt, whether it be a car accident, a slip and fall, and so forth. And we're joined tonight by a pair of gentlemen from the Hawk family and the Hawk Law Group, founder Vic Hawk and also Chase Hawk. And how are you gentlemen this evening?
Doing great. We enjoy getting to do this. This is fun for us.
A wonderful
giving back.
Exactly, a wonderful community service. And Chase, just wondering for folks out there who maybe have never been in an accident, why don't we start really from the beginning? You get into an accident and you decide you do need an attorney. What are some aspects of an attorney firm or group that you might look for?
Sure. The first phase after you get injured and you're looking for an attorney is to do a little bit of research. Okay, you're going to ask friends and family. You're probably going to do that anyway. Business associates, people you know and respect, your elders in the community there, and their opinion on the matter. If there's a good attorney in the area that's been doing good for people for a long time, usually they'll, that name will be on the tip of their tongue. Go and see more than one. You don't have to make a decision straight away, but if you connect with somebody and you connect with the attorney, then it's going to probably be a good working relationship. But you're going to want to ask them a couple other questions. You're going to want to ask about the area of expertise. How much time they spend doing criminal defense versus how much time they spend doing personal injury. If you're asking for somebody to come do work on your house and you got a guy that says, I can fix everything, versus someone that says, all I do is plumbing, and you got a plumbing problem. Well, in most cases, it's going to work out where you hire the person that actually does the plumbing all the time. You're also going to want to look and see whether or not they have support staff. A legal team. If you've, there's nothing wrong with single practitioners and a person out there doing it by themselves, but handling this type of work can become very, very burdensome, and people with an entire team that can support them and help them pursue your claim usually is a big plus. And finally, ask the attorney how they like to communicate and how often they communicate. So each of you have sort of a reasonable expectation of how the case will be taken care of and move forward. So those are just some of the things that you should do when you're trying to select an attorney at the outset.
And Vic, that's an interesting point Chase just brought up. Hey, we're in 2020 and it's a whole new world out there. How are people communicating these days with their attorneys?
Well, of course, we give out our cell phone numbers to all clients. So anytime a client needs to contact us, they can call our cell phone. They also have a direct dial number to the paralegal that's assigned to the case. In addition to that, we get email. We set up Zoom conferences. If there's a problem in the case, we set up a Zoom conference. It's surprising that members of the public that are in my age group are really opening up to the idea of the use of Zoom. We also know that the millennials and those before the millennials are using the internet to find attorneys. And I think Chase's suggestion that you contact more than one attorney or meet with more than one attorney is excellent. You never know what you're going to get. Years ago, and the only legal malpractice claim I ever filed involved what I thought was egregious conduct by a lawyer that advertised heavily on TV, and none of the ones of today's that are doing it today, but this is a long time in the past. When I questioned him, I asked him, I said, what's the highest court that you ever appeared in? Because you have all these actors saying that you're such a great lawyer and all the insurance companies are scared of you. And he said, well, one time 15 years ago, I appeared in magistrate court. If you have a serious injury or death in your family, you don't need a magistrate court lawyer. You need a real trial lawyer. And then we have other circumstances where, it's just completely fortuitous that we get the case. Chase mentioned again a person talking to many lawyers. There was a badly injured man in AU, was in a motorcycle wreck, and we went to see him. I think Reed went to see him, Melissa went to see him, and then they decided that they didn't really need a lawyer, and they didn't use some of the other lawyers that they talked with. And what we always told them, although you think there's just $250,000 in available coverage, there may be more. And if we do the investigation, it's contingent fee. If we don't recover for you, you don't owe us anything. We may be able to do the investigation and identify other insurance to help you. And so it went on for about 2 or 3 months, and he called me up and he said, I want you to come see me. So I went to see him at the VA. It had actually been transferred to the VA hospital. And when I got there, the first thing he said to me was, do you know why I called on you? And I said, no. And he said, because yesterday morning, a hawk landed on my windowsill. That was important to me. And so we took his case, and we were able to identify an additional $1 billion worth of insurance. And we got it all for him. We were able to help him tremendously. So it's okay to talk to other lawyers to see which one you're comfortable with, as Chase described, and you make your own decision. They can come to us from almost any direction in today's world.
Well, when we
yeah, and Neil, it took me weeks and weeks to train that hawk to fly to the right window.
Well said. When we come back, we're actually going to share some real life personal injury situations, and we'll see how Chase and Vic would advise that person, and perhaps if it would affect you as well. So please grab something to drink or eat and relax, and we'll be back in just about 2 minutes.
Welcome back to News 12 Law Call with award-winning broadcaster Neil Gordon, and from the Hawk Law Group, attorney Vic Hawk, with more than 30 years experience and millions of dollars awarded to his clients. Attorney Reed Sanders, born and raised in Thompson and known for his strong courtroom skills. With criminal law, former police officer, now lawyer Sean Merzlach, and with South Carolina injury law, trial attorney Chase Hawk. Plus guest attorneys from across the CSRA. Your rights, your calls, live. News 12 Law Call.
Well, thanks so much for returning to the program, the Zoom edition of News 12 Law Call. Our topic tonight, kind of interesting. I'm injured, now what? And Chase and Vic Hawk rejoin us from the Hawk Law Group to try to answer some real life questions from folks who've been hurt in some instances really badly, and try to provide some good advice. Vic, let's start with you. Monica says she was in an accident where a guy rear-ended her. She was taken to the hospital, had some neck injuries. The insurance company that he had said he was not on the insurance policy as a driver, but yet the car had insurance on it itself. What exactly does that mean?
Well, that means the insurance company is trying to get away with not being held responsible. There's a word called privity, and privity creates a certain relationship by way of contract. And with regard to the liability coverage, you don't have a contract with them. So insurance companies and the adjusters that they represent have wide latitude in describing their position on what occurred. It doesn't matter that the driver is not named on the policy. If he was permitted to use the vehicle, or even if he used it without permission but had been allowed to use it before, the liability insurance has to cover the loss. So don't be concerned with that. We hear that on occasion, especially when clients come in to see us and they say they're being told there's no insurance coverage. we listen to their story. We know it's wrong. As soon as we send notice, that adjuster is no longer on the case. We get a litigation adjuster then because they know what's up.
Yeah, and one of the important things to remember, we talk about it all the time, and we say UM coverage. Okay, get UM coverage or UIM coverage in South Carolina. And what that is, what it stands for is uninsured motorist. So it's coverage you get on your own car in case the one that hits you has a person driving that isn't covered by any policy. And there is a situation in which you can exclude a driver. For instance, you have a child that's living with you, or say a young adult that's of drinking age, and they have a drinking problem, and you say, look, you can't drive any of my cars, and I'm excluding you from my insurance. So you're not on the insurance, and it's actually in the contract. In that situation, if they got your car and you didn't let them, nor you never let them drive your car, then that person is going to be uninsured. And the only thing that you're going to have to go after as far as any sort of compensation is your coverage. And if you don't purchase it prior to the accident, you can have the best lawyer in the world. You're not going to recover anything. We can only get access to what insurance is available in the case. So please go out there and take care of yourselves and your families and get some UM or UIM coverage.
Chase, this may be somewhat related, I suppose. Brandon has a situation where his friend was hit by a car last weekend. He was crossing the street, was not in the crosswalk. He didn't see the car coming. Would he be able to collect from the driver, or is he out of luck because perhaps he was jaywalking and not following the law?
Sure. So this is one of these law school questions where the professor gets to sit up there and smirk and go, it depends, but it actually does depend on a lot of things. Okay. Was he a foot outside the crosswalk? Was he walking at an angle towards the crosswalk? Or was the driver drunk, speeding, trying to get away from the police when he hit the person? So a lot of factors need to be considered in deciding whether or not he can recover, because there's something called comparative negligence. And yes, you should be able to, drive and watch what's going on in front of you and avoid a pedestrian that walks out into the road and is standing out in the middle of the road. You should be able to brake or, miss them. Okay. But the law isn't going to hold you to an impossible standard and expect you to be able to miss someone that just jumps out from behind a bunch of parked cars, not anywhere near a crosswalk when you weren't expecting, or a drunk person that stumbles out into the road, not even looking. And so you really have to look at the specific facts in the case for me to be able to answer. So it depends on the specific facts of that case. I had this case, but in my case, the person driving was drunk. So I was able to recover for my client in that case.
Gotcha. Vic, sometimes personal injuries don't come from humans. Chris says his daughter was attacked by a German Shepherd that actually went onto the property when they were getting out of their car. And Chris's daughter's got stitches on both arms. He broke his laptop trying to fend the dog off. The family that owns the dog lives nearby in the neighborhood, and they're basically saying, it's not my problem. So what should Chris do? Is this a police matter, or is this an insurance matter?
This is an insurance matter. The homeowner's insurance for the owner of the dog will cover the loss. We do a lot of these claims. We have a case that's pending right now where a dog bit a portion of a young girl's nose off. So there can be some terrible consequences for dogs running loose, and there is insurance available. Usually the coverage is between $100,000 and $300,000, so that you can get compensation in those types of cases. Don't be concerned that the defendant is flippant about it. They usually are until you give them notice of the claim. Then the insurer gets involved.
Well, a lot of times there's issues at either big box or local stores where employees are trying to do a lot of responsibilities, have different tasks, different jobs, and things can get a little slippery. Emma wants to know, Chase, what's the rule on the store's liability for keeping their floors safe? If there is a wet floor and the store simply puts the warning signs up, are they free of any responsibility? Does that give them sort of a free pass that, hey, as a consumer, we should know to be more careful, and if the consumer slips and falls anyway?
Again, this is going to be a law school question. It depends, because the law is not going to require that the big box store go out and place 9 employees jumping up and down with little wands, alerting customers that there's a wet spot on the floor. Customers have a responsibility to watch where they're going, and to be careful not to hurt themselves. But there are situations in which the store owners, even if they do go get the signs, that the sign's placement might be inadequate. We had a situation where instead of placing the sign out in the middle of the walkway, what they did is they leaned the sign against the wall. Okay, what does that look like? It looks like it's just sitting there, that's where they store it. That's where they keep it. That doesn't tell anybody that floor is wet. Whereas if it's out in the middle of the aisle, it lets everybody know that this is in the aisle. You need to be cautious here. You need to be careful here. In those types of situations, that is going to alleviate any sort of liability for the big box stores, if their warning is adequate to apprise the person walking that's paying attention that there's something there that could hurt them. So it depends in that situation.
Well, for our last segment, we're going to take an anonymous question, as there's a sticky situation going on at a local manufacturing company involving safety, and we'll have Chase and Vic chime in after we take a 2-minute break to pay the bills. So you're watching News 12 Law Call. We'll talk with you soon. Well, thanks again for tuning in. We really do appreciate your viewership. And if you would like to reach out personally and speak with one of the attorneys from the Hawk Law Group, several ways to do so. You can dial all 4s with a 706 area code. Go online to hawklawgroup.com. Plenty of resources, and you can also do a live chat. They also have 4 offices in the CSRA. They can do a Zoom call from there or invite you in, and we promise it'll be a safe distancing and a sterile environment. And our topic, I'm injured, now what? And in the last segment, Chase spoke a bit about signage being placed and the liability for various big box stores, and what happens if you slip and fall. And Vic, you've been doing this a long time, decades, and I know you've had some of these cases. And without naming any names, I know I guess it was a home improvement store where you ran into a situation.
Yeah. The rule is that a landowner, in this case, the store, is required to keep the premises and the walkways reasonably safe. We have a case pending right now where this large store schedules the maintenance, in other words, the mopping and waxing of the floors during regular business hours. And to avoid responsibility, what they decided to do was something that's similar to what Chase described. They set up wet floor signs throughout the store on every aisle, but they put them to the side like they're being stored. So the situation that was created was wet floors or recently waxed floors with caution wet floor signs not out in the middle of the aisle. So a customer would not appreciate the fact that there's a wet floor or that the recently waxed floor. And if they were walking down the aisle, they'd see wet floor signs, but they would be standing up next to the shelves and the merchandise. that is not sufficient warning to prevent an injury to a customer.
What happened, Vic, to this customer?
Well, he's just walking down the aisle and he goes to turn right. He slips, falls, he crashes into this metal shelving nearby, cuts his forehead, and causes a rotator cuff tear to his shoulder. And basically, the store's denied liability all along, but it's not going to happen in front of a jury.
Get a trial attorney. Don't settle. Hey, we've got another question. This one is anonymous. This person works for a large manufacturing company, believes corners are being cut on safety that potentially puts a large number of their colleagues at high risk for getting hurt. When someone else on the shift complained they got fired, what should this person do?
Well, they should report those particular safety violations to OSHA. Don't be afraid of being terminated. It's a whistleblower claim. All you have to do is report it to the agency. And there are different types. Like you can report your employer for violating the workers' comp laws. You can report your employer for violating the OSHA rules and regulations and other statutes. But you need to go to a lawyer to figure out how to handle it, because some of the rules require an administrative claim first before you pursue the main claim. You're entitled to lost wages, future lost wages, attorney's fees, and court costs. So don't worry about that. Report it, make your work environment safer.
Well, it's helpful for everyone for sure. Chase and Vic, we thank you so much again for having this program on the air. Goodness, I guess it'll be about 9 years coming up into the new year.
That's right.
So appreciate it so much. And pretty soon we'll be back in a brand new studio.
That's
on
right.
the Riverwatch Parkway.
Pretty soon we'll be in Aiken. Hopefully in January. So we have 5 offices. Yeah, we look forward to that.
Breaking news. You heard it here. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for watching. We really appreciate it.